Fuill Emery Unified School Board. Can we have a roll call, please?
Member Miriam?
Yes.
Member Pats? Here. President Affeldt?
Here.
Member Ash here.
You haven't been called yet.
Member Ash?
Here.
All right. She made it.
Yeah. I'm trying to keep it interesting, guys.
Okay. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, this is our special meeting where we're going to interview candidates for the vacancy on the school board. Are there any changes to the agenda, Superintendent?
Good evening. No changes.
Okay. This is the time for public comment when members of the public can comment on any item not on our agenda, but within our jurisdiction tonight. Do we have any public comment? No public comment tonight. Okay. On to our discussion items, which is one item, the interview of the candidates for the vacancy on the school board. We have determined that candidates will be allotted 30 minutes per interview, and we are recommending that they take approximately 3 minutes per question. I guess if they want to go longer on a question, then they're going to have less on another question. But overall, I will end the interview at the 30-minute mark. If time remains at the end of the candidates' responses to our questions, they will be allowed to give a final statement or, at their option, revisit an answer to one of the questions. We will be bringing in candidates individually for the interview, and the other candidates will be sequestered, meaning they will be not in the room and listening to the interview that's being conducted of the other candidates. Candidates will also be asked to leave following their interview and will be notified by phone as to the status of their candidacy. We're going to spend the initial part of the meeting reviewing our interview questions, which Ms. Tamery has kindly printed out and given to each of us. Are there any final thoughts or comments from board members on our interview questions?
When they have the questions in front of them, I'm sorry? Oh, sorry. I see a copy of the questions in front of them. We talked about having the goals in front of them as well. Did we not? So when we get to the question about the goals. Oh, that's a good idea. Forgot that. Yeah, we'll get a copy. Okay, thank you.
All right, that's a good reminder. Any other thoughts or comments about the questions? Okay, one point is who's going to be asking which question, and our past practice has been to have the question reader rotate among board members. Yeah, I don't see any reason to deviate. So if others are in agreement, then we should divide up the questions.
Do we want to just start with you and then just go clockwise?
Sounds good?
Fine, good.
So clockwise would mean Mr. Merriam second?
Yeah.
And then down to you?
Yep.
And then rotating to, okay, back to me. All right, and everyone gets 2 questions. All right, so I'm 1 and 4. That's all I need to know.
2 and 5.
No, I'm 1 and 5, actually. Sorry. Screwed you up
Second
there.
that promotion.
All right. If there are no further questions about our questions or comments, I think we're ready for our first interview, but our first candidate is not here and is not scheduled to be here for a half hour yet, though Ms. Tamery has indicated that Mr. Bukowski was planning on being here at this time around 6:15. So why don't we adjourn and wait for Mr. Bukowski to arrive.
Okay.
I'm texting these other candidates to see if I can get them to come early.
Mr. Bukowski has kindly arrived early, and we are, let me just lay the ground rules that you missed. But we will be giving each candidate a half hour, 30 minutes. We have 8 questions. We're recommending you take about 3 minutes per question. And if you take more, then we're going to end up at 30 minutes, however, so it's up to you. If you have time left over at the end, you can give a final statement or go back and revisit one of the questions at your option. And then other than that, we're bringing candidates in individually to be interviewed, and the other candidates will be sequestered outside, and candidates will be asked to leave following their interview and will be notified by phone as to the status of their candidacy.
Okay.
Any questions about any of that?
No?
Okay. All right. We are going to start then. The first question, and we're just going to rotate amongst us up here as to the questioners. First question is, briefly describe your commitment to public education and our local school district.
Well, I guess I've been very deeply committed to the schools. During my tenure on the city council, I approved bailing out the school district. I also approved an additional $2 million loan, which a gift loan. We're still not sure how the state is going to handle that. I was helpful with the creation of ECDC, and that along with Bob Savage was an innovative thing we did. There was no other city that had a child development center at that time, and so we did that. I was there for the beginning of the vision of ECCL. I thought for many, many years how it could be effective and used as a community facility, and I think we're about to engage in a new endeavor here, and I think having somebody from the city to help the board with that partnership would be very useful.
Okay.
I mean, I assisted with the Measure J campaign. I helped with that material. I initially asked for the school board meetings to be recorded when we did the bailout and to have the city pay for them. And since then, I post all of the videos of all the meetings for public benefit. And it's hard to measure the benefit that having videos available creates. So I'm committed.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else?
No, and this is really that's part of the answer for number 2 as well. You know, we'll wait for the question to be asked. Okay.
Okay. Go ahead.
Question number 2. Please share any background information that you feel prepares you for a position as school board member, for example, education, work experience, etc.
Okay, well, one of the questions that was asked is, have you ever had a kid in the school? And for a 6-month period, I was taking care of my nephew and enrolled him in high school. So I was meeting with teachers and met with the staff, and so I'm familiar with what it's like to have a kid in the school. And then, like I said, the beginning of number 1 was really part of the answer here. I think I have the experience. I'm up to speed on the issues, and I think I know how to handle it. Familiar with being in front of an audience, being on TV, and all the criticisms that you have to endure serving. And so I would say that's my background.
Can you describe your commitment to ensuring the board functions well and share any prior experience on working on boards or teams?
Now, that's an interesting question. Can I ensure that the board works well? No, I can't do that. I can just do my part to make it work well. And specifically, I think it all depends on how you approach the meetings. If you come into the meeting and you want to find somebody in a lie or find somebody in violation, that's not a good idea. I think if there is a violation, I think somebody should make a phone call to somebody to try to rectify the situation before making a public issue out of it. The thing that the public dislikes the most is infighting among board members. That turns the public off more than anything else. And I think that has to be considered. When somebody on the board has a problem, that's bad for the whole district. It's not just bad for that individual. And the bad publicity, those people have to live with that. There's got to be some professional respect that I don't really see happening here. I'd like to see the measure of professional respect improved. Even myself, to even suggest I should be disqualified without even having a chance was very upsetting to me. I mean, you could just vote no, but to say I don't even have a chance, that's humiliating. And I don't think that's a good way to introduce potential relationships with members or even people in the community. I think it's all about having an upbeat attitude and trying to look for solutions. And so I would say that the board could probably write a policy that best figure out how members can work together, that if something happens, we'll do this, that. That's about the most that I could do, is try to ensure that we can work together as best as possible.
How does the board's role differ from that of the superintendent?
Well, the board sets the policy and the superintendent carries out the policy. The superintendent is responsible for the staff, and the board members work with the superintendent to accomplish the common goal. That's pretty important to understand where the role of a board member does end and the role of the manager of the personnel begins, because you can't tell anybody what to do. It all has to go through the superintendent, and that's an important process to be familiar with. So nobody steps on each other's toes, and you each have a mutual respect for each other's roles.
With the district's 4 goals in mind, and you've been provided with the goals up there in the pamphlet by Ms. Tamery. I think it's to the folded pamphlet. Do you have it?
I have it, yes.
Okay, yeah, that. We'll give you a minute to review those 4 goals on the.
Yeah, I've already looked at them.
Okay. What do you see as the strengths of the Emory Unified School District?
Well, when it comes to goals, I think there has to be a way to measure goals. If you just say you have a goal and you don't have a time period to take a look at it, then it's more like a mission than it is a goal. So I think these goals should have definite, well, part of the thing I want to advocate for is to have an annual meeting where we measure our goals and successes, because if you don't do that, they're not as meaningful. One of the goals that I think could be included here is dispute resolution, because I think that is something that people have to go through their whole lives, and learning how to work out problems is very beneficial. I also think that the
I'm sorry, did you say New Year's resolution or?
Dispute.
Dispute
dispute resolution.
Okay, thank you.
I also think the language in these goals is a little bit too wordy. I mean, it's like you try to include everything, and if they have a lot, if they're more simply stated, I think it would be easy to remember and follow. When it comes to the strengths of the Emory Unified District, I would have to take a look at the neighboring districts to see what they have to offer, because your strength is really measured by comparison of what we have to offer, what other districts have to offer. The primary strength of the Emory district is its small size and the ability to work more closely with students. That's one of the things that I think makes Emory stand out. But I would have to know, I'd have to find out from the kids and the teachers what the issues are to really answer that question, and what they think is strengths and weaknesses, because those are the people, the subject of what we're doing, and their opinion really makes a difference here. And that goes to well, I'll wait for the next question to be answered. Yes.
Okay, that would be Mr. Merriam's question.
With the district's 4 goals in mind, what do you see as the area most needing improvement in the Emory Unified School District?
Well, I think there needs to be better communication. I think that I'm not sure that I've seen many community meetings when the goals for the community have really been gone over. One of the goals for the community, I think, should be to attract all Emeryville students to the school instead of having inter-district transfers. I think that should be an ongoing goal. Bringing the community in, improving fundraising, for example. I think we could do a much better job fundraising, and I would propose an annual recognition event where we show thanks to all who've given money and time to the district, where we recognize those individuals, and then create a forum for information to be shared. In addition to an annual meeting, I would even suggest a bi-monthly meeting of the community, because this community really needs that. It's a place where you could put out what's happening in the school, especially if it's at ECL. That's supposed to be the place where we're supposed to meet and gather and bring community together. So if we took that approach, the community would be informed. There's potential for fundraising there. One goal I have, and I don't know if it'll ever be carried out, but we could organize the people in the city to create a membership group and get discounts for members, and maybe a portion of those discounts could be allocated to the school. If we put together a group of 2,000 Emeryville people, and we were able to save them money on this, that, and the other, we're not only bringing people together, but it's a possible opportunity to bring money into the school. Or if a business is going to say, gee, we'll give so many percentage of our sales that day to the school district, then we need to get out there and promote it. I've seen those promotions go without any real enthusiasm, and I think, I think there's a lot we could do in that respect. Okay.
Sorry, the next candidate just confirmed, so. You mentioned this already, but of the district's 4 goals, are there any you do not support? Do you have any additional goals you think should be considered?
Yeah, I think equity needs to be in there. I didn't see anything about that. That's really the foundation of what the other goals are about, is equal treatment, fair treatment. And so I'd like to see equity added to that. I certainly, how could you not agree with the existing goals? They're motherhood and apple pie. Those are things that we should be doing. But as I said, I think they're a little wordy for people to remember.
Okay. Are you aware that the district is striving to be a full-service community school district? And what does that mean to you?
Well, that's what ECCL is supposed to be. A full-service school is that which goes beyond what's typically offered. You offer assistance in, mental programs, social programs, every way that you can reach out to the community to bring everyone together to work, for everybody's benefit. I would like to create an Emeryville Toastmasters Club and a Youth Toastmasters Club. I'm a member of Watergate Toastmasters for the last 8 years, and I know what value that really brings to learn about speaking, to identify how to structure reports and information. So I would like to see that happen. We've had a couple of youth programs here at the school before, and I did volunteer to work with that, and it's very, very worthwhile. You know, full-service school will have health services. We'll have so many services that would not otherwise be prepared, offered. Again, I think we can make ECCL all that it was made to be. And at the same time, you know, I want to make sure we have a good operating budget. I want to make sure we have the funds to do the things we need to do, and where possible, you know, explore other opportunities. I mean, think about having a school board member who attends all of the regional meetings that I attend. That would put education in their face. That would give me the opportunity to fold education into the regional planning effort. I'd like to see teacher housing, for example, and that's something I've spoke to Tony Thurmond about. I have connections in the legislature all across the region, and I think if they know I'm a school board member, then I'll hear stories about what's happening in other districts. Just as a thank you for watching the videos, I get a lot of elected officials that thank me for those videos, and if they could give me any information in return, I think we could be opening a door of possibility there. You know, my presence, you know, with the city, or my advocacy with the Emeryville, we're going to get like $500,000 to $1 million a year for the Emeryville that we wouldn't have otherwise gotten. Because I went out there and said, well, hey, you know what? The Emeryville is not even in the expenditure plan. And I was able to convince that board to include the possibility to fund the Emeryville, so I'm happy about that. You know, I've been on committees with so many people in the legislature now that it's amazing how time moves forward, and they make those positions. And most of those, you know, my experience in the region is positive. You know, I've been chair of a lot of regional committees, and 6-time mayor of Emeryville, and so I've really been, you know, I was the first white president of an NAACP branch in the state of California. That was an interesting experience, going to Washington as one of the few white people there. I had 2 very successful nightclubs. We had the first karaoke club in the area that did very well. You know, hundreds of thousands of people got married in my place that met each other. And I want to bring that effort to the ECCL. That's what we need. That's what we should be focusing on, and that's one of the things that I want to do. You know, I'm deeply committed. I don't have a family, so the city is my family, and I spend all my time working for public benefit. What can I do for the city, and what can I do for the region? And I love doing it.
That may have been your closing statement, but you have time to give a final statement or revisit any of the other questions if you'd like.
Well, you know, I think Emeryville, the Emory district, is turning a tough corner in its history. We have a lot of opportunity, and that opportunity needs to go as well as possible. You know, there's a lot of benefit this community can have if we can all come together. And you know, one of the projects that I worked on for ABAG, which will one day be put in place, is a profile project where we would take every elected official and create a profile for them. And we could do the same in Emeryville. For all the people that want to participate in the community, if we find out something about them, then they'll know something about each other. We could find out their likes and dislikes and encourage them with information in that regard. The district can put something out there about what its needs are, and then make it more possible to fill those needs. People don't know what you need, and they can't offer anything to help. There's just a lot of innovative ways that I think I can help. I've just taken on the task of working with ECAP. I'm going to be doing their webpage. I mean, I can't believe they've never had online fundraising. I mean, that, you know, I don't know how much that could bring in, but I could do some of that in concert with trying to raise money for the school. I think I have a lot to offer, and I think it would be good for the school district if you chose me for the task.
Okay. Mr. Bukowski, thank you for your time.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
your coming in.
All right. Now back to ABAG. You can finish doing that meeting.
All right. So our next candidate, we haven't asked to come until 7:15. Do we know, is Mr. Carver confirmed?
He's not here yet. I was told he'd be here at 6:45, so.
Okay. Well, why don't we adjourn till Mr. Carver arrives then? All right. We're reconvening the special meeting of the Emory School Board. Brian Carver has arrived, and we're ready to start this interview. Just going to go over a few of the ground rules. We are giving each candidate 30 minutes, up to 30 minutes. It may not take that long. We have 8 questions. We're recommending about 3 minutes a question in terms of answers, but it's ultimately up to you. We will end at 30 minutes. If there's time left over, you can make a final statement or revisit a question at your option. And candidates are being brought in individually, the other candidates sequestered, and we'll ask candidates to leave following their interview and notify you by phone as to the status of candidacy. Any questions about any of that?
Sounds good.
All right. We have 8 questions. We're just going to rotate the questioners, and I'm going to start. Can you briefly describe your commitment to public education in our local school district?
Yeah, good evening, President Affelt, members of the board. Thanks for having me here tonight and inviting me for an interview. I think I'm extremely committed to public education. I believe it's one of the most important things in what makes a community great. It's ought to be one of society's most cherished values. I wish our state legislators often did a little bit more to illustrate their commitment to public education and gave us more resources for that. But I, in particular, have sort of seen firsthand how the school district becomes a hub for community activity. Right? By sending my own children to Emory schools for the last, 6 years at least, it ends up being that, your children's friends become your friends, or their parents become your friends. You end up at the same activities, and it becomes this sort of binding glue for the entire community, right? I've tried to be involved in various ways myself, both over the years when the Dad's Club was active, participating in that, and when at various times with the Parent-Teacher Association. Sometimes work commitments have not allowed me to do as much of that as I'd like, but and sometimes those organizations have gone up and down in terms of their overall levels of activity. But I think we've got to get public education right for our community, because because so many people are depending on us, right? These families that I say you've made friends with and come to know are depending on you, it's really critical that you do everything you can to provide their kids with the best possible education. It becomes very personal because in a small community like ours, you know precisely who it affects. I think I'd just leave it at that.
Okay, thank you.
Next question, number 2. Please share any background information that you feel prepares you for a position as a school board member, for example, education, work experience, etc.
So I got a master's degree at UC Irvine, and in the process was a teaching assistant. And my degree program was in philosophy, and when I got into that program, I thought that what I was mainly interested in was the subject matter, and that those in my field taught simply because that was the only way to pay the bills, right? That there's not a lot of other opportunities for philosophers. But what I found when the first time they threw me into a classroom to pay those bills was that I really loved it. I was amazed that, you know, in every class, there's always a couple students who get really excited about the subject matter. They're coming to office hours and asking questions. And so I found that teaching has its own rewards. And from there, I ended up signing up to be in this teaching development program over the summer, where we went through a very intensive summer program, learning about pedagogy, learning about sort of how to best engage students. And the culmination of that was you prepared a course to sort of teach the incoming graduate students who were going to themselves be first-time teachers. And so I ended up leading a graduate level course on pedagogy. After doing that for a while, I actually decided, you know, I don't really like the substance of this degree as much as I like the teaching. And if that's what I like, I could do that now. And there were some other reasons, but I went for a couple years and just taught philosophy at community colleges in Southern California. Particularly at Long Beach City College, I did several sections of introductory logic where we used this computer software to teach the stuff, and it was so much fun that I think if they had been able to offer me a full-time position, I might still be there doing that. But it's actually very hard to string together multiple part-time positions all over the Southern California freeways that are crammed with cars, and that lost its allure after a while, and I went to law school. But even when I did that, I sort of had the idea that I was going to go back to teaching. I had gotten an interest in the law, but I was like, but what I really want to do is teach. And so after law school and after a little time at the firm, I managed to get a faculty position at UC Berkeley in their School of Information, teaching law courses for not just law students, but the entire campus. And again, my dean found out that I had some background in pedagogy and had taught a course on that before, and so she had me design and teach for a couple semesters a pedagogy seminar for the new graduate student teachers there as well. So all of that, I guess one other component maybe of my time at Berkeley was I taught and designed and taught our very first completely online course for the School of Information, and that experience had me and a research assistant spending a lot of time thinking about how do you engage students, how do you use technology to best engage students, and these kinds of things. So even though I'm now sort of primarily an attorney, my working life has seen me be a teacher for more years than anything else, right? And so from that set of experiences, I've given a lot of thought to what makes classrooms work well, how do you reach different types of students, what ways can technology help, when does it get in the way, you know, so I think at a minimum I would bring that background to the discussions. But also, by being a member of this community for the last 8 years, I've followed the activities of this district, you know, very closely, participated in the Bond Oversight Committee as chair for a year, And so I think there's a whole lot I would have to learn about being a good school board member because, for instance, there's maybe nothing more complicated in the world than school district finances. You know, maybe a lot of things that I would enjoy learning from you all on, but I also think I have a little bit of a leg up in some areas where I have paid attention to the past history of this district and also through my own work experiences given a lot of thought to those types of things.
Describe your commitment to ensuring the board functions well and share any prior experience on working on boards or teams.
Well, you know, given what I said about the importance of public education and us getting it right for those in our community, the board has to function well to achieve those goals, right? It's essential that it find a way to get its important work done. I think it's best if it's not a political fight. You know, when the general public right now does not have a lot of faith in government. They look at Congress and the gridlock they see there, or even our state legislature, and get fairly disgusted with the way people behave, right? I think that's a shame, and there ought to be a way for people to function together for the benefit of the public they're trying to serve. I think we have a decent example of how that can work in our own city council right now. It's a group of 5 people that don't always agree. They frequently have 3-2 votes on items, but I have rarely seen it cause them to be unable to move on to the next item and discuss it fairly and then, you know, reach a 5-0 vote on the next item when that's what is appropriate, right? You know, I think what you do is you assume that those up there with you are working in good faith towards the same goals. You don't impute bad motives to those that are sitting up there with you. And you recognize that sometimes you can have an honest disagreement, and that's okay, right? And you try to hear the other people, understand their perspective, and then vote, and then move on, right? You know, now it's time to get to work on the next important issue. And you can't hold grudges or be petty about these sorts of things. Or you're going to eventually get into a situation where you're not functioning well and you're not achieving those important goals. And I've seen that from personal experience as well. I've been on numerous city committees, the Child Development Committee from its inception till just about its closure. And actually it was one of the things that led me to move away from my academic career and back to working as an attorney, is that I actually really love working on a team. When I did do litigation at a firm, they were these large litigations that basically require you to work as a team. No one person handles it by themselves. And I really enjoyed that give and take with a group of 3 or 4 other attorneys. And I found that what Berkeley really wants you to do is lock yourself in your office by yourself and write papers, you know, and it was just too lonely for my tastes. I actually enjoyed advising the students on projects they were working on in teams, you know, and saw that sort of team activity, those kinds of projects are the ones that I find more fulfilling. And so I've had a range of experiences like that, working on teams to get something done where I think I enjoy it more, and it ends up being, you get better results.
Just to let you know, you're about 16 and a half minutes in, and we're on question 4 of 8.
Yes. How does the board's role differ from that of the superintendent?
I think the board has to set a larger policy vision for the district and give the superintendent direction on the major issues that it faces, but that many, if not most, of the sort of day-to-day operational details are really the superintendent's purview. The board should not micromanage, I guess I would say. And Instead, they can set the strategic direction and the goals for the district, some general principles by which they want to operate, and sometimes there will be discretion in how exactly that gets accomplished that's left up, I think, to the superintendent. That doesn't mean there should be a total disconnect, that, you know, that the only interaction between the board and the superintendent should be in these public meetings or something. I think it probably works best when the superintendent does have, you know, frequent meetings with individual board members to hear what their concerns are, to relay, here's what I'm working on and what I'm doing, more detail than you can really get into in the public meetings. And so each board member probably should develop a strong relationship with the superintendent, where they each know where the other's coming from, but it would not be the role of any individual board member to purport to give the superintendent direction, right? That has to be a majority of the board that sets the policies. So I think that's enough on that.
Okay, thanks. With the district's 4 goals in mind, and I think you brought them with you, and there's a set up there if you didn't. What do you see as the strengths of the Emory Unified School District?
Well, I think we're making progress on each of these goals, because I've watched the district over a number of years and do see steps in each of these directions, trying to provide equitable access to more educational opportunities. I've seen us try to make sure there's these outlets for students to get skills that make them ready for colleges and careers. We've done several things to try to integrate technology into our curriculum, and obviously we're almost done, we hope, right, with building the multi-use city school campus. So that's about to be a reality. I think, though, what really is behind the accomplishments that we make on each of those goals are we have had for many years some really strong teachers and staff in the district, that as leadership has changed, they've remained and been a really important force for positive growth. I think from what I spend more time at the elementary school, but given the ages of my children, but I've seen the principal there have a very positive effect since her arrival. So I think that's one of the strengths of the district right now, is they have a leader in place who, and the vice principal, actually, I would say as well, has really contributed over there. I know the high school principal less well, though I have met him. And in addition to those teachers and staff that I think are a real strength of our district, the community that we have here is also a really amazing strength. Our parents will come out when you tell them their students are performing, you know, or in a song or dance or whatever the situation is, you know, and they will volunteer to go on field trips, and they will participate, and so we get a lot done through leveraging what they can bring. Yeah, I think that's.
Okay, you've got 11 minutes. You're on question 6.
All right. With the district's 4 goals in mind, what do you see as the areas most needing improvement in the Emory Unified School District?
Well, I think we've been hindered in the past, in part due to our size. When you're a very small district, it makes several things challenging, right? You know, resources are not as great as they are other places. You have to make tough choices about what to prioritize, and what you can offer and what you can't. And just a sheer numbers game comes into play. For instance, you know, if you have a very small high school, then you can't possibly have the same group of 20 people be on the football team, on the band, be the cheerleaders, be the, the track team, be, you know, also do the newspaper, right? You know, you're going to have to pick and choose which of those activities to prioritize. When you reach a larger scale, there's just more people to fill those positions, more resources to pursue them. So I think that's held us back in some places. It also, though, sometimes we make significant advances in some of those areas, but just don't communicate them well. And I think that's probably been a weakness of the district, is that we often do really great things, and then nobody hears about them. And, I mean, even as a parent, I have trouble finding out about things that are going on sometimes. You can't rely on a second grader to be the best source of information, right, about what's going on. They'll tell you what they tell you, right? You know, and sometimes they remember to bring home newsletters, and sometimes they get lost or dropped in a puddle, right? You know, so finding multiple channels of communication and utilizing them in the best possible way, I think could go a long way to addressing some of that. So that when we are making important strides, people can find out about it, can get involved, and you know, and these sorts of things.
Of the district's 4 goals, are there any that you do not support? Do you have any additional goals you think should be considered?
No, I certainly support all these goals. I think in some ways it's dangerous to add too many goals. You don't want to lose focus. So I wouldn't want to add 3 or 4 more. I guess if forced, you know, to add another one, I might choose something about leveraging this strength that I mentioned earlier, that our parents and community that we have here. You know, we have a rare business climate here in Emeryville, and I think we could do more to bring them in to what the district is doing, and so sort of being connected to those entities in a more routine way would be something I'd be interested in, and leveraging what the parents are also maybe able to offer. So sometimes those experts that we might want to bring in to talk about some topic are not just at the businesses in Emeryville, they're in the homes of Emeryville residents. We have such a diverse community. I think about the students in my daughter's class whose first language is Arabic, and have always thought, wow, it would be great if we could somehow bring in those parents, and you know, is one of them able to teach Arabic after school to people who are interested, or you know, like that's just not something that a lot of other schools have as a possibility even, right? You know, we have these really unique and diverse communities in this area, and we ought to do what we can to try and leverage that and take advantage of it. But I think it's best probably though to stay focused, and so the 4 of the goals that you have are a good set.
Okay, and lastly.
Before you ask the last question, you're at 6 minutes.
Are you aware that the district is striving to be a full-service community school district, and what does that mean to you?
Yeah, definitely. I've been following that process 4 years, and been involved in countless meetings on that. I think what it means is, well, two parts, both right there in the phrase. It's full service. It's also community, right? And the services ought to involve recognizing the needs that we have within our district and our community, both among the students and the families, and trying to make access to the services they need easier. You know, if we know that asthma is a chronic problem in Alameda County and that Emeryville has got some of the worst asthma rates among children, then we ought to be bringing in the asthma bus on a regular basis, like we do, in fact, you know, and putting that right there on the campus so that it's extremely easy for students to get access to those kind of services. And then the community part of it means that it shouldn't only be about the students, but that we do want to bring in the larger community, both those who are maybe young adults without children yet, and those whose children are past school age or who are older. We want to see how we can include them, how we can provide services for them and get them to feel like the school district is doing things that are relevant and important for them as well. Yeah.
Okay, you have 4 minutes left to make a final statement or revisit any questions if you'd like.
I think I managed to say most everything I wanted to. I probably will remember something as soon as I walk out the door, but and rare for me that I managed to do it maybe under time. You know, having spent time on the faculty, when I speak, I'm used to having an hour and 15 minutes all to myself to lecture. But I guess I just appreciate you guys considering my application. I would be thrilled to try to help you with the tough job that you have in front of you. Really respect and appreciate the time and commitment that each of you has given to this job. I think I've said before in public meetings that it's in many ways a thankless job, right? It's difficult, it's hard and finding folks who are willing to do it is really something special. So I appreciate what you guys have done, and we'd just be glad to help, because I think even whether my own children go to this district schools or not, I live in this community and have for a long time, and so it's really important to me, right? You know, what happens for this community and for the students in it. So thanks.
All right. Thank you, and appreciate your coming in, knowing you're not feeling that well. All right. Do we know if our next candidate is here? Okay. All right. We'll bring her in. Good night, Mr. Carver. What's that? Or your mic at least.
Oh, yeah. Start going back to our trampoline.
Good evening. Yep, welcome. Yeah, that's the spot for you. And thank you for coming in.
Oh, thank you. Good evening, everybody.
All right, we have some family members here to support you.
Yes, indeed. There's my husband and also my daughter. She's formerly used to be a student in Anna Yates since kindergarten to third grade.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to get started. Let me explain the ground rules to you. I'm the John Affeld, board president. These are our other sitting board members. You'll have 30 minutes for the entire interview.
Okay.
You might not need all of that time.
Okay.
You're not required to take it.
Okay.
There are 8 questions, which you've been provided. We're recommending you use about 3 minutes to respond to each question, but it's up to you. Either way, we're going to end at 30 minutes.
Yeah.
If you have time left over at the end, you'll have time for a final statement or to return to an earlier question if you want to revisit that. That's up to you. We're bringing in candidates individually, and the other candidates aren't listening to your responses and vice versa. And finally, candidates will be asked to leave following the interview, and
Okay.
we will contact you by phone to let you know about the status of your candidacy. Any questions about any of that?
So far, so I think it's pretty clear.
All right.
If there is any just step that you want me to just move forward, sometimes you just try to answer a question and then just continue. So just let me know if there is any timing.
Okay. Yeah, I'll
thank
let
you.
you know as you're going through if you sort of where you're at time-wise.
Thank you.
Particularly if you're running short. All right. Well, I asked the first question. We're going to rotate through on the questioning. First, can you briefly describe your commitment to public education and our local school district?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, for the ones that haven't seen, so my name is Gaudis Sanchez. I am currently resident of the Emeryville. We live really close. We live and breathe and commute within the city. Basically, as firsthand as a parent in the community and also in the Anna Yates school, elementary, I believe that we experience the needs and also enjoy what the district and also the Anna Yates offers to their students and also the community. I believe as a parent, I have, or so far from the kindergarten, or so far for the 4 years, the knowledge of the things that we can improve for either all of our students and also the lives of our community, not only for the ones who just attended Anna Yates, but for also for the residents and kids that they're living in the city, and they are currently attending another districts in the surroundings. I believe that our commitment as a community and as residents is to bring those kids who are currently attending other districts and to bring it to include them as a community and to bring it back to make this school district desirable and as we deserve, to bring it back and to improve it, and most of all to just enrich all from the benefits that a school district can bring to the community as the new projects that we have so far. So to me, it is the most important part, inclusion for all the families, for the parents, and also to bring that to life as a community. So not only just for education, only for any other future projects that the city has as overall.
Okay. Thank you.
Question number 2. Please share any background information that you feel prepares you for a position as a school board member, i.e. education, work experience, etc.
Yes, thank you, Don. So, answering the question on the background, I will start with the most important one that I believe everybody's questioning about. I am, as I was a mom, a parent in the community, also for Anna Yates, we work closely within the activities in the community, not only within the school, but also outside of the school. Activities within the programs of the city of Emeryville after-school program for soccer, new programs, after-school programs, the new science project that most of the teachers that were included in bringing from other museums and places to the classrooms. I believe that information and experience will bring to the table, or will bring to the community the things that also that we need to just add to the programs within the classes, and also the inclusion between the principal and also within community. How can the companies around the Emeryville can help us, each other. So what other companies that we have in Emeryville that they can be helping us with the programs that we have, or the projects as the parents, or also as the board just can work it out. I have experience working with technology companies, and also my background is I'm a marketeer, and managing multi-million-dollar companies, also multi-million-dollar projects. It is important for us as a community to bring someone who can understand and to have the best utilize those resources to bring it back, and also to produce and to see growth within our community. So that will be for that done.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Describe your commitment to ensuring the board functions well and share any prior experience on working on boards or teams. Sorry, let's try that again. Describe your commitment to ensuring the board functions well and share any prior experience on working on boards or teams.
Oh, okay. So working as a team, I believe, as a professional experience, basically, I believe that inclusion, communication, and also finding a common ground and finding a common goal, it is the best tool that you can bring to any or team or board, city or country, the state. It will bringing that directed to communication and having a common goal, no matter cultural background, also economical, but most importantly, I believe that if you can work as a team with those ideals and with those goals completely identified, and with the energy that you have, or every single member of that team can bring to the idea or to the project, it can be very well executed and concluded and bring good results within a short period of time, as we can see in Emeryville. So I believe that so far the community have done a marvelous job working not only with the Board of Education, while bringing Dr. Rubio to our district, but I believe the communication within the board, currently board, it is bringing a lot of new ideas, and I think as an excellent indicator that the things can get done, and there is the drive to do it. So I believe that is communication is key for that.
How does the board's role differ from that of the superintendent?
Well, overseeing, as a personal experience, overseeing did all the projects, and as I mentioned before, the communication between those goals within aligned within also the superintendent and also the teachers and the staff in the community, and the education and the board of education. I believe that it is not to tell what to do, or to tell the superintendent what to do. I believe it's oversee, collaborate, and to bring new ideas, and to align them, both of them, so they can just have a very good well results, basically, and be a very good and experience results.
Okay. The next question is, with the district's 4 goals in mind, and you should have our goals up there with you, what do you see as the strengths of the Emory Unified School District?
Okay, so as a strengths, I believe that our common goal so far, we want to work as a community. We believe in the importance of not only as a community or just as just the families who lives here. A community involves all the companies who takes part of Emeryville and be part of this ecosystem that it can help to each other. So I believe we are aware of that. So far, I've seen it. I've seen it firsthand. I spoke with some members, and some occasions we spoke with superintendent in one of our meetings, group of meetings with parents and NIHs, and there is an interest, and we believe that this community, this city of Emeryville, can grow with having those common goals, and we try to execute them. So I believe we know we have the idea, and I believe that the main strength is because we are focused on technology, and we really want to work as that. We see the idea, we're trying to execute it, so I believe that that's one of the most strengths, the communication between the board and also the alignment between the superintendent and also between the communities around.
Okay.
With the
Let me just say, you're doing fine. We're through 5 of 8 questions. You've got 20 minutes left. So
Okay.
you're fine time-wise.
Thank you.
With the district's 4 goals in mind, what do you see as the areas most needing improvement in the Emory Unified School District?
Okay. If you allow me to speak as a parent also again, and I know that I've been using, hopefully it's not get overrated, but I think that's as in my background and also as a first-hand experience on the school district and also in the school of NIHs. We need we need educators, highly skilled educators. I believe it's not only just as part of this type of ecosystem within the schools, but it will bring so much enrichment to our kids in our classes, bringing its skill sets with those teachers and also staff who bring that enrichment. I believe that if we bring that to the schools, to the classes, to bring that, we can offer that not only to the kids, but also to the communities, whoever it's interested in getting involved. As in the future, we have this project of the community, or the huge, magnificent project that we have almost across the street, about a community and also a school working as within or as one, bringing educators with a highly skilled level and high skill set and high technology focus, and in bringing with that ideas and being innovators, it will bring a lot of enrichment to all these kids. And I believe that with that in mind, so far we don't have it. And I can tell you firsthand, my daughter was there for 9 years since kindergarten to 3rd grade. And there is teachers, of course, and there is wonderful teachers there. But the resources are limited. There's I can tell you 3 to 5, some teachers, they really want to just continue working and strive for what they can do for whatever so limited resources they have. But there is a need and there is the hunger for those teachers who either they cannot continue their education, or they can, any other reasons they cannot, just update their knowledge, or they just cannot bring or take classes. Well, they feel like they need the support from the unified school district. Maybe those teachers could, just find a way to just give them the tools, give them the power, empowering them just to bring that knowledge, to take a course, to take a class, and and also not only that, but just to increase the level of teachers, or the level of extracurricular classes or after-school programs that we have, so that it will bring a lot of to our community and to our school. So I really believe that we need to improve that. Teachers, and also not only on that, because sometimes as parents, some of us, we believe that everything should be like within the school, but also is in the other side. So to bring more inclusion, not just to the teachers, that's one part. The other one is to bring more interest within the community to the parents. Parent inclusion is very low in Emeryville, and I could say most of the parents, they don't even know if this board exists. So to get to know that we're here, that the superintendent Rubio is here, that Miss Lang is doing a lot of efforts, and also that there is an interest between all the companies around for what we're doing. So I believe if you bring that, if we improve that, I mean, this community will be so desirable. I mean, so many other kids, the kids that are not attending and going to another school district, but also to the kids that they are already here. So I see that's one of the points that as a parent, I believe that we need improvement. Just get the word out there, prepare our teachers, and also parent include their parents, invite them, and not giving up. Just knock their doors, make more events, bring them, call them, email them, try to open. If they cannot just attend here one night, we have technology. We can do a Google Hangout. We can just bring it to them. So that will be part of the improvement. Communication between both of us, and also try to bring a little bit more education to the teacher and give them more resources, because at the end of the day, that will go directly to our kids. That would be.
Of the district's 4 goals, are there any you do not support? Do you have any additional goals you think should be considered?
Well, I don't think that any of the goals that the board has, or the district has bring to the table or to have in mind. I'm not against any. I think that all the goals are they're marvelous ideas. They're wonderful. We're talking about technology. We're talking about inclusion. We're talking about bringing a new set of ideas, and you try to give formation to our kids as raise them or educate them as a first world citizen. So I don't oppose to any of those. Also, I believe that there will be some ideas in the future that the board that might bring, or situations that during the course of the year or the calendar will be discussed. I cannot say that I oppose to them, but also I believe that good communication, finding common ground, and if all of those goals align to what could bring the best to our community, I believe that I'm completely happy. But also I will bring some ideas, and I believe that we all have the right as a board to discuss those ideas and to decide what were the best to make them happen. Not only just to sit here as wording and just as just unwritten and leave it in the book, but just to make it happen and to just capitalize it. So we need those goals to make them happy, to make them real. So I believe that, no, I don't oppose any of them, but also I believe that, yes, we can bring more ideas and more goals, not only just to stop on 4, but within the course of the year, if most of them we will develop. And I think as a board and the communication that I was talking earlier, I believe that we can bring more goals, communicate them, and share it to each other, and just bring it to a community.
Are you aware that the district is striving to be a full-service community school district? And what does that mean to you?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, we have been receiving for quite a while emails from the city of Emeryville about the new development. Even before it was torn down, the old high school, even when the high school was there, even the rumors when we were in 2nd grade, we were gonna lose our school, and all other things. So within the past of the years, the course of the years, we get more information out. The Emeryville district gave more information to the residents. Yes, I'm aware. Yes, I am aware of all the things that the city wants to bring and how they want or they plan to include all the residents in the Emeryville. Not only the school or parents or students that they live within the area or outside, but also, I mean, just to try to attract, being attracted to a new residents, right, within the Emeryville, as we all know, and we're all aware that we're a hot city right now. We're super hip right now. We're trying to attract everybody from San Francisco here. We're developing like crazy. Apartments are coming. And new families in the community is growing. I'm not opposed to that. I believe that within the standards and the safety standards, I believe that the city has, I believe, or I think, they have projected and they have overseen. I'm sure there is two sides of this story. Either there's most people because it is misinformed, they don't know what is the project about, what is it going to bring me to my kids, what as a resident of Emeryville is going to give to me, or just provide me, computers, library, what else, how access, how do I know if my kids are safe within the school or this program, this massive project. So I am aware. Do I like the idea? Yes, very much. It will bring a lot of things to the city, a lot of new access to technology to the kids. Do we like it? Do we need it? Probably some of them don't. As we all know, technology, it can be dated from one day to another. But I believe that there is a need for the city to have a center as the one that we have right now. We don't have a pool, for example. We don't have a basketball court, for example, team, sports, a place where all the community can just feel as a home on one roof. So the idea is wonderful. It is very ambitious. I am aware in some areas, in some states have worked, or in other areas have not worked. But who knows? We will see. And I think within the community and also as a board, the job of the board or the job of the school district and also of the city, it is to communicate simple and let the residents be aware of what exactly it is. So far, the maturity, I can tell you as firsthand, I mean, I'm a resident since 5 years, and even though some of them, they are connected to the city through email or through the newsletter, but they don't know what exactly is going on. So we need that direct communication to the citizens. We really need that, to share that, that idea to be accepted, to make into a simple language. It could be understood, and also to bring what exactly are the benefits of that massive project, because so far has been just, it's being perceived as just like a waste of money. Some of them safety issues, some of them just opposed because they're not agree. They don't know why, but they don't know what's going on. So I think one of the challenges would be awesome at the schools, and IAs being inclusive. Hey, parents, would you like to join me to see? We have this. We have a massive project. You are going to be benefited on this and this and that. Simple language, but just as an idea and as personal, as a resident, parent, and also as a person who has vision and love technology, I believe that this project it will bring a lot of good things to the city. So in it and using it well, also, and not just letting it just bring that a huge, massive structure and leave it there just to no good. So we need to take advantage of the resources and well utilize them. So that will be. So yeah, that idea, I think it's a wonderful idea, and hopefully it just turns out that well. So we're expecting that. As a residents, we really expect that.
Okay, thank you. You've answered all the questions, and you have 5 minutes, about 5.5 minutes left if you'd like to give a closing statement or return to any prior answer.
But I'll choose a closing statement.
Okay.
I've been living here. We've been living here for about 5 years. 5 years so far. Even though with the ups and downs of the city, even though we've seen firsthand huge and rapid growth of the city, and also in the schools, we've seen a lot of changes and improvement. And we having, even though our daughter right now so far is not attending NAH for any other reasons, we haven't given up. I think as a parents, and I think as Emeryvillians, we fell in love with the city, and we fall in love with the energy that the people who lives here has. We believe that with all the resources that this city has, we believe that things can be possible and things can get done. It is a lot of energy, yes, they need to be put. It is a lot of things and time that need to be put on the table, but I think we believe that things can get done, especially in education. We believe in education, no matter economical background, no matter cultural, no matter language. We speak Spanish. Sometimes there is a community who's growing also, firstborn and also foreign-born, who are moving to the technology companies and bringing here, then trying to find that community and that involvement. So I believe that Emeryville so far it has been giving us a lot of that. And yes, it is a small community, but I don't see why not the city, or I don't see why not the Unified School District can bring that to the table and can help us to nurture that. There is a desire to know in all the families. We've been here for a while. We do a sports here. We create also support the local sports team, because we got very excited about the new ideas. So I think that the rec center, they started a youth soccer team, so we are starting to support that. So I believe that all that can be done and can flourish. It is a wonderful city. We love it. We love the teachers. We know that most of them are our friends. That we believe that the new principal, the new leadership in the school, it is really brilliant. We saw results in a short period of time that we saw her. She supported our community impressively. She involved and also add cultural involvement. It gives representatives every single culture. She brought that family kind of oriented kind of type of community within the school. And if we see that around the city and around all the projects that the new schools can offer, and also to the community, this can be unstoppable. It will be wonderful to see it. Like, I don't see 5 years. If we saw that in 5 years that we're living here in Emeryville, I don't see why not we can see most wonderful things come and happen in this, hopefully next 5 years more. So far, I believe that we haven't given up, and that's why we're here. We're a family, we're a small family, but we believe that we see more things and more projects in this city, and we see the people is prepared here, and that they have the energy, that they want to be here, they want to be part of it. So it's just a matter of just work as a team. Work as a team, communicate it, and just bring the energy. So that will be our most wonderful vision for the city, and for the reason to be here, and until that time after dinner. So that will be our common goal, I could say. And thank you for opening the doors and for allowing us this opportunity to be here, to be heard, and for either this interview can go as any way, or hopefully it is to the person who really is going to bring the best to the chair, into this position, and to make things better, right?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for putting your application in and taking the time to come and talk with us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you
Okay.
for listening to us 30 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
And for bringing your family.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's my moral support right there, right? My motto. Okay, thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Bye.
Is Ms. Tamery getting our next candidate? Okay.
Making himself at home. Complete with chips.
Good evening. Good evening, Ms. Collins-Rodgers. Thank you for coming in.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
So I'm going to go over the ground rules really quickly, which are pretty simple. We have 30 minutes for your interview. There are 8 questions. We're recommending you take about 3 minutes a question, but it's up to you. We will conclude after 30 minutes.
All right.
If time remains after we get through the questions, it will be up to you to give a closing statement if you want, or you're also, at your option, could return to an earlier question, elaborate further if you want. Candidates, as you know, are being brought in individually. The other candidates aren't listening. They're being sequestered from hearing your interview, and at the end, we'll ask candidates to leave when the interview is over, and we'll notify you by phone as to the status of your candidacy. Any questions?
You said none at all.
Okay. We are going to rotate through our 8 questions, and I start. Can Can you briefly describe your commitment to public education and our local school district?
Yes. So my commitment to public education, especially in the Emory Unified School District, is that students will engage in further success. In the Emory Unified School District, as an alumni, I do believe that community partnership is a great aspect in allowing the public education system to flourish, and career development as well. I do believe that in terms of my commitment to the public education, as a former student in the public system from the 2004 until 2010, I intensely recommend that commitment for myself will be to allow the district the way to see my empowerment as I raise awareness for the global spectrum for students in the Emory education system.
Okay.
All right. Question 2. Please share any background information that you feel prepares you for a position as a school board member. For example, education, work experience, etc.
Okay. As I previously stated, my background information as an alumni of the Emory Unified School District from 7th grade until 12th grade, graduating in the class of 2010. I am currently the general manager at Nothing Bundt Cakes in Emeryville at the Powell Street Plaza. I have had several community affiliations and internship opportunities with different businesses such as Intrepid Electronics, Novartis Pharmaceuticals, the Emeryville Recreation Center, as well as my citizen commitment as an Emeryville resident.
Thank you.
Describe your commitment to ensuring the board functions well and share any prior experience on working on boards or teams.
Okay. My commitment to ensuring that the Emory Unified School District School Board functions well will be that we do raise awareness, we do empower the students, that my communication skills, as well as my collaborative learning, my community participation, and my empowerment for a global spectrum of educational opportunities will definitely help in ensuring that the Emeryville School Board will have a person on their team that works as a team member and then can lean on others' understandings and opportunities as well. I do have previous experience working on the Emeryville City and Schools Committee as a senior in high school, 2009 from 2010. As well as my general manager position, I do manage several team members, seeing as though the bakery does run effectively, which will allow me to have a general knowledge of functioning with the team as well.
Really?
What he meant to say was, how does the board's role differ from that of the superintendent?
Okay. The school board come together as several individuals who collaborate and settle different situations in the educational field collectively. The superintendent manages that team and those team members so that they can come to a proper conclusion for the different instances at hand that may be coming across in the educational field. The difference between the two would be that the school board is a whole entity of people, and then the superintendent as an individual is a manager of that entity.
You're not being interviewed. Ms. Collins-Rodgers is. The next question is, with the district's 4 goals in mind, and we have the, do you have the goals up there?
Mhm.
If you can take some time and look at those. What do you see as the strengths of the Emory Unified School District?
Speaking from experience as an alumni and a product of the Emory Unified School District, I definitely see that the strengths of the Emory Unified School District are integrative learning with proper technology, collaborative activities. For instance, I was on several extracurricular activity teams that definitely helped my team building skills as well. Creativity to be ready for college. I previously graduated from California State University, Monterey Bay in May, and I definitely feel as though the school district and the people within the district had a lot to do with that influence in my furtherment of my career opportunities. And with the 4 goals being the foundation that the school district will rely on and a power builder for the remainder of the future endeavors that the school district will have at hand, I do think that there are several strengths which allow the school district to flourish. And I have definitely seen those proper flourishments in my life as well.
Number 6, with the district's 4 goals in mind, what do you see as the areas most needing improvement in the Emory Unified School District?
There's always room for improvement, although the goals are definitely the foundation, like I said before. You build on that foundation. So with those 4 goals in mind, I do see that the areas most needing improvement would be the student-to-community partnership and collaboration, so that the student can feel more comfortable in this city, not only as a student, but as a citizen. The partnership with different community businesses locally in Emeryville for proper internship opportunities will definitely be something that can be integrated into an improvement method in the goals. I would say there's a lot of effective literature that has been stated in the goals, but there's always room for improvement, like I said before. And we'll see what time holds in the future.
Of the district's 4 goals, are there any that you think that you do not support? Do you have any additional goals you think should be considered?
No, I do support them all. As I said before, an additional goal could be the collaboration with the student in the city. Considerably with the partnership, different classes that can be held for the student to further their career opportunities, integrative learning opportunities, critical thinking abilities, as well as college preparatory.
Sorry. Good job. That was good. Are you aware that the district is striving to be a full-service community school district, and what does that mean to you?
Yes, I am aware that the Emory Unified School District is striving to be a full-service community school district. To me, that's just a partnership with the student and the Emeryville community. That means that students will be able to engage in economic, political, and social empowerment, allowing community members onto the site, which will be the ECCL, bringing the community and city to the school as one, creating a sense of family between the students and the community, which is a great initiative for such a small city as Emeryville in terms of our education system as well. To me, that's just allowing the students to engage in several different opportunities for proper communication, global awareness on a larger spectrum, creative learning, as well as different ways to foster their environments.
Okay, we have gone through all of our questions, and you have plenty of time. You have actually 16 minutes left, and you don't need to take all of that or any of that. But this is the time for you to give a final statement or revisit any of the questions that you might want.
Definitely. I will revisit some of the questions just to expand briefly upon some of them, including question number 1. And my commitment to public education in our local school district. My commitment will be to allow those without a voice to be heard, to come together as a team member and lean in on those who have opinions in terms of the educational field, not just in Emeryville, but all over, so that we can actually allow Emeryville Unified School District School Board to represent an effective community as an effective board. In terms of public education, I have been in the public school system since the 7th grade as of 2002. From that public education, I would definitely say that our local school district is definitely different, especially with our staff to student ratio. Therefore, when we do come together as a school board, it allows a more comprehensive understanding of the elements in the school district and the classroom itself.
Okay.
I would also like to expand upon question number 3, and my commitment to ensuring the board functions well and any prior experience I have working on boards and teams. Ensuring that the Emeryville Unified School District School Board functions well would be that my commitment as a voice to those who have not been heard and raising awareness to educational opportunities will allow those in the schools, kindergarten through 12th grade, as well as several community members as a citizen myself, to understand that the school board only wants what's best for the children, and therefore representing each individual class as a full school district that will ensure an effective school community in a multifunctioning atmosphere. My previous experience conducting several different elements in the first phases of the Emeryville Community Center for Community Life project have allowed me the proper knowledge to understand the fundamentals that go into this new facility that is being constructed. While sitting on the Emeryville City and Schools Committee in my senior year of high school, I didn't understand the infrastructure and different problems that may arise while this facility is being built in its final stages. I would like to definitely lean in and continue to have that effort on my part integrated into the process of this multifunctioning facility. And then for my closing statement, I would like to say that it has been a pleasure to speak in front of you all this evening. I'm glad that I had this opportunity to become an applicant to fill the vacancy for the Emory Unified School District School Board. I definitely want to give back to the community who has made me the individual that I am today. Receiving my Bachelor's of Arts in Psychology previously in May, and coming back into the community that has shaped me into an adult that can definitely handle several situations at hand, multitasking, whether it be with my education, job opportunities, political affiliations, as well as my community affiliations as well. It's definitely something that has been on my heart for several years, and I'm certainly glad that I have this opportunity so that not only the school district that I've attended, the high school that I've attended, but the community that I live in and the people around me will understand that this is definitely something that can be done. As I sit on this board, I will voice the opinions of those who have not spoken or refused to speak up, and I will allow their voices to be heard in a proper manner, as well as coming from the student perspective and leaning in on actual classroom experience, classroom management, as well as different tools to the future endeavors that these students in the classroom will have, as well as the faculty, staff, and board members. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much for coming in tonight and giving us your answers. And this concludes our interview of you and our interview of all the candidates. And this is the point in the evening where we open it up for public comment on any of our candidates. You can step down and we will
Thank you.
Thank you.
notify you of your status.
Have a good evening.
Okay, thank you. We're not interviewing any other candidates, so you're welcome to stay or go as you please. Is there any public comment on any of our candidates? Ms. Cooley, please come up and comment.
I'm Betsy Cooley, I'm a resident of 28 years.
Wait, the mic's not on.
Yeah, nobody's.
Just bring it up to you.
Yeah, it looks like it's on. Is this a? Like that? Can you hear me now? Okay. I'd just like to speak up on behalf of Brian Carver. I've known him for 5 years. I think he's an extremely smart individual. He really cares deeply about the schools and has 2 children in the Emory School District, and I think he's very thoughtful. He's always willing to discuss really anything that that people want to talk about. So he's very open to working with other people, and I think he'd be a really excellent school board member. So I hope you consider him. I'm sure you'll consider him.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other public comments? All right, we're going to close the public comment. And then we're on to deliberations. Do we have any board members who'd like to weigh in with their considerations? Don't all speak at once.
open up.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
All right, Mr. Merriam.
Just a casual, or just an observation through the proceedings. I think we ended up with a unique perspective that 4 different views, if you really want to say, as far as the candidates that were wanting to commit to this endeavor. So I appreciate that. That was very, very informative and eye opener, and it's a relief that we did get a vast selection to choose from. So this decision is going to be a very difficult one. So that's kind of my opening statement. But as far as deliberating, everyone brought positive thoughts and ideas to the table and are willing to discuss them on various levels. And I look forward to any and all of these, even in the public forum. So that's what I want to open with.
Okay. Well, I would agree with that. I think we had 4 different candidates who all presented interesting and thoughtful perspectives on why they're interested in serving on the board and what public education is about and what are the strengths and challenges for the district going forward. So I think it was worth bringing in these candidates, and as you say, it was a diverse set of individuals with different backgrounds. As for me, I again think Mr. Bukowski brings a lot of experience with the city and in government. He certainly has been a selfless supporter of Emeryville and done a lot of good work for the city, and in his time on the city council, a lot of good work to support the school district. So I think the city is better for having Ken as a citizen. I do not get from his application same thing I didn't get last time, which is much of a specific connection around public education and his experience with public education, or even necessarily the people and the workings of our school district. So I think I'm glad we brought him back, but he wouldn't be my top choice. Among the other candidates, it was also an interesting and thoughtful group of the other 3. I think we have on the board individuals, 2 of us, who live in the Triangle and represent or have children, school-age children, and have, well, at least I have, as Mr. Carver has currently, children at Annie Yates. And what we don't have on the board is someone who is coming more from a student experience and who is more intimately familiar with the workings of the high school, and we don't have an alumnus on the board now that Ms. Dice has stepped down. And for a school district that is 55% African American, we don't have any African American representation on the board. And I think we have a candidate who is a thoughtful young woman who's an alumnus, who's a graduate, who's been through our school system and has succeeded beyond that and obtained a 4-year degree and is making her way in the world and wants to give back to the community. So in sum, among the competing options, I'm currently leaning toward Ms. Collins-Rodgers.
Okay. Yeah, I think of things and looked at each question and sort of ranked and scored people on the questions, and I agree with the sentiment of on paper, when I was looking through the applications, Ms. Collins-Rodgers was sort of the front runner in my mind, because I do think it represents a voice that we desperately need on the board. That said, I was concerned with some of the answers. I think there was not some understanding of the role of the board. I think there was a lot of good ideas or terms, but not substance behind them. I felt that there were, some phrases and things that I thought were, great. They're phrases and things that I support, but it didn't answer the question. It was just sort of, here's a term that goes there. And so I found that leaving me to want more, in scoring things. And same thing with Ms. Sanchez as a sort of, another parent, another member of the triangle. And I found incongruities in her answers, and so I was never sure, was this a strength, was this a weakness, was this what was intended or not intended? It left me very challenged with some of her answers, and I would have liked more brevity from Mr. Carver and a little bit more succinctness in his answers, but I did feel like he does bring that experience that we talked about with Ken. He's very involved in the city and has been on a lot of committees. I don't hold it against him that he has kids in the district. I think you used the phrase a long time ago, skin in the game, and I like that. I like that somebody has children, and that's sort of, it's piqued my interest with Ms. Sanchez. It piqued my interest with Mr. Carver. I thought he understood some of the roles a little bit better. I thought he was, again, I wish he'd been more cohesive with his answers, but there wasn't this sense of, incongruities that I felt with Ms. Sanchez. For me, I think for me, if I talk about Ken, I think his biggest strength is he was the only one to challenge our goals. He was the only one not to say, oh, yay, these are great. He really said, no, these are too wordy, too broad, not measurable, and I thought that was really, a powerful moment for him on that, where he sort of had that courage to sort of say, I'm not just going to agree, and then brought it back around about being a team player. So it wasn't that he was being contrarian, but he was just giving us honest feedback, and I really liked that. But as I said before, I would have been happy not to have him included in this evening's discussion. I think, he doesn't have the same qualities the other three do. He's not a parent with a kid in the district, or a parent. He's not an alum. I think he's had his day in the sun. I think we want fresh blood. So going through that, just looking at the content of the answers, I give the edge to Mr. Carver, because I felt like there was a lot more substance there. I rank because that's how I interview. I have been in the public sector too long. We have to rank and ladder people, and so I can't say as I thought he was always the best answer, but I always felt he was, I'm looking at my rankings, he's got a lot of 2s on the answers, and so I ended up, getting the most second place votes, followed by Miss Collins-Rodgers. I had her ranked second, and again, just because I would have liked not just the concept, but I would have liked to have how that's turned into action. When she started clarifying at the end, I felt there was some more stuff there, and we were getting to it, but I would have liked more meat on the structure earlier on, and so, I feel like she's very close, whereas I feel Ken's at the tail end. I think she's just the start and has a very bright future, but I don't think we can afford that learning curve at this time. We need people ready to hit the ground, so that's where I'm at.
I may have to run outside any moment,
You
but
can take the mic with you.
Transmit back in.
I'm torn on 3 out of 4 of the candidates for different reasons. To quickly touch on what you were saying with Brittany, although I understand where you're coming from, I think I was very much that, I very much sat in that seat when I first joined the board. I was only 28 or something, 28, 29, and did not have very much background with how all of this runs. And you're forced to learn very quickly. And I think having someone who didn't necessarily know what was going on was helpful, because it was like seeing it with fresh eyes. So that would be my take on her. Just, I think it would be helpful. I also agree that the voice of the alumni and another woman, an African-American woman at that, it would be beneficial. So by a small margin, I think she's slightly in the lead for me. I thought Brian Carver answered everything very well, and I have worked with him in the past. I think he's great and very educated, very knows what needs to happen, and I think he could help really get some things going there. But coming from someone who sits in the seat of the board of bringing a point of view that is more not, there's no way to say this. Sorry, I'm not using my brain. I just think a different point of view is helpful, and I think that although he is a brilliant man, I think we have a lot of what he has already sitting here between the three of you. And I enjoyed Miss Sanchez as well, but I had a hard time understanding where she sat on quite a few of the questions. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents, and Mike is here, so I'm going to run outside.
Well, we got your opening salvo, so it's time for round 2.
I wanted to set the table, I guess. Yeah, input from fellow board members is one way to gauge kind of the consensus, at least which we're trying to get to. My take on this is that Ms. Sanchez brings a different point of view, along with Ms. Collins, and forgive me if I've mistaken the names on that. Mr. Carver, on the other hand, he brings a copious amount of I'm going to say, importance to the position. But I think we're looking for a different perspective. And of the two women that were applicants, I feel that those are the two stronger of the group. With that being said, I wouldn't have an issue, or it would be probably it would be a positive if Ms. Sanchez became a member of the board.
So I'm not sure. Are you saying Ms. Sanchez is your number one?
Yeah, number
candidate?
one. And number two would be Mr. Carver.
So maybe you should repeat that for Member Ash.
Member Ash, my consensus, or my ranking, if you want to call it the ranking, Ms. Sanchez would be number one, and Mr. Carver would be number two.
And do you have a 3 and a 4?
Number three would be Ms. Collins, and number four would be Ken, Mr. Murkowski.
Okay. Well, this is an interesting situation because we don't have a majority consensus on any one candidate. We have, if I can recap, at least the number ones. Ms. Collins has 2 votes. Mr. Carver has 1 vote. And Ms. Sanchez has 1 vote. And that's where we currently stand. I would say I guess on round 2 of commentary, that I think in terms of Ms. Collins, I think she was the most nervous of our candidates. She's the youngest of our candidates. This is the newest, probably experience like this for her. And I feel we didn't get her best sort of sense, her best self, until we started to get, as Mr. Pat said, to the end and the final statement and where she was speaking much more freely and clearly, and I think starting to bring herself to the forefront. The things, again, from the whole package, and I don't think I would. People decide in different ways, but I wouldn't decide just on an interview. I think we're looking at their application and their experience and history and work in the community. And I do think she brings the most new things that we don't have on the board in terms of the alumni experience, the president of the high school when in the senior class, when she graduated, having served on the city schools committee and been involved in the ECCL project, and being a successful college graduate to come back, as well as being a woman and an African-American voice on the board. So that's my round 2 comment.
So I'm looking to be persuaded based on content. I mean, I take almost a different tact from you. I feel like the whole purpose of the interview is just that, to get to the content of what's there. We put some time and effort into the questions, and while I agree the whole picture is what we want to look at, and you know, I would love some diversity on the board, and I would love to have a student voice on the board. But I feel like unless I get a content argument of like, well, this question was answered particularly well, or, you know, those sort of things, that's where I struggle of, you know, if all things were equal, if we took the names and we took the faces out of the equation and we just looked at the answers, I really don't think you'd come to the same conclusion, and that's where I'm sort of given a pause of like, what are we doing here? If that were the case, and that was the rubric we're using, that's fine. But I don't know that that is the rubric we're supposed to use. So I guess, again, I go back to, I'd love to hear, instead of, you know, a different voice and you know, rounds out the board, because I agree, those are incredibly important things. But I also want to make sure that we have not just the external factors, but the internal. And that's the purpose of the interview, is to get at those internal workings. And I didn't, you know, I agree with you, it got, or I said it initially, it got better at the end, but I wrote down things as she was saying them, and raise awareness, empower students. Those are great things, but I didn't hear any how. I didn't hear any, anything else. I heard the phrase, and I didn't hear the next step. When we get into question 4, the superintendent's role versus the board's role, this really stood out to me is, the board's a team, but the superintendent manages them. And while I think there's some things that we can learn on the job, that's fine, but if we have candidates who are already aware of that, then is that equitable? And so I guess to me it's a matter of what are we judging people on? And until you tell me that we're really evaluating the content of their answers and their knowledge base and then citing examples, I think that changes the whole purpose. I mean, that sort of said, well, that's what we should have put as our applicant. We want a student, we need more females, we need a person of color on the board. And I think, that's what I want on the board. But from the pool that we have, I don't know that we can just say, okay, that's the only criteria. I really, it does a disservice to everybody involved in the process, because now you've taken away this idea. It's, my son and I, it's Martin Luther King week, and it's, it's judging people on external attributes as opposed to the content within. And I think Ms. Rodgers will get, hyphenated names always give me a difficulty. Ms. Collins-Rodgers will get there. And I think probably she and I are more aligned in our answers to these questions. But based on the interview, I didn't get there. And that's, to me, that's a matter of what are the criteria we're using. If we're using the criteria of how ready are they to govern at this moment, then we have to look at the answers. I mean, I thought the answers on her application were excellent, but we didn't see that live. I thought Brian's answers on his application were okay, and I thought his performance this evening was good. But again, it's that depth, I mean, I tell you, my two choices, just reading applications, I was really excited by Ms. Sanchez. But, and I wish I had seen what Dawn had seen, because it would have given me a different first, but she contradicted herself. She didn't answer the questions a lot of the times, and she did one of my favorite things in an interview, have a theme. I always tell people when they talk to me how to interview well, have a theme. She kept going back to communication, and I loved that, but she did it at the exclusion of the answers to the questions. I'm with Joy on this. I don't know how she answered half the questions. I don't know if the problems or the strengths in the district are our teachers, or if the problem in our district is our teachers, because I heard both. I don't know if Mr. Rubio is a great communicator, or if our district doesn't communicate very well at all, because I heard both. So again, I go back to, because again, she has the criteria. She's a person of color. She has a child of school age. She has the experience. But that's not enough for me. I need to know that you can answer the questions and you're ready to hit the ground running. And so that's where I'm struggling, So again, I'll go back to the other board members.
Additional thoughts?
Might have a couple. In regards to Mr. Carver's answers, some of them made me pause for a moment. One of them being that, I think it was question 5 when I asked, or the one that President Affel asked, was having to do with the ECCL, or recognizing that, where I summed it up was that he didn't recognize that the ECL is not a goal based on the goals that we have. It's the community. And it veered itself, that answer veered itself back to a building or a campus. What we're trying to develop is a community. Mm-hmm. And that gave me pause for concern based on that. Another one was that small schools do work. And although the student population is busy with various activities, both during the school day and after school, that small schools do work. And there's been various examples that they've been very, very successful. And to say that small schools don't work on because the students are taxed because they're too busy to achieve, I think that's wrong. That's a wrong approach to take, especially in our district. So those are the two main things that I had came away as negative, as opposed to there's many positive that he had, but I think there was something missing in his address to the entire student body from K through 12. It was missing from, I think, the middle school on, and that was dearly lacking as far as addressing the needs within the district.
With that last point, Dawn, I would feel the same way about Ms. Sanchez.
Yeah.
And she was very focused on the elementary school, as that is what her experience has been. She had experience with the elementary school, and I think that our district we have a very strong elementary school, and we have a high school that needs some work. And I guess maybe that's why Ms. Collins-Rodgers is appealing, just because she has the most experience with our high school than any of the candidates and any of us sitting here. And although I do agree with a lot of what you're saying, I do. And I do understand what you're saying as far as like the content in the interview is what we should be based off of, although what you can bring to the table needs to be, needs to be looked at also. And I think that, that's where I sit, is with all the candidates. So, sorry. I'm not sleeping, obviously.
Not sleeping, baby deprived.
Baby's teething.
Superintendent, do you have any thoughts on the candidates?
I do. I do. Sorry about that. I would. How often do I get to say this? I would agree with Member Pats, to be honest with you. I'm just kidding. I think that the content is important. I very much appreciate all the candidates, and I think Ms. Collins, with her student experience, Ms. Collins-Rodgers, excuse me, would be a great candidate. However, I would agree with Member Merriam about Ms. Sanchez, and I'll tell you why. I think as a board and just as a group, we should probably just be cautious of any parents regardless of the background of their English language skills. And I did hear her say, I did lose her once or twice. That was similar for me, but I did hear her say that we have strong teachers. But I also heard her say that one of the areas for improvement is that we need highly skilled teachers. I thought it was very, very politically said well, and I have to admit, I would be attracted to, in terms of what she would bring to the board between the two female candidates, somebody with a marketing background is something we should not overlook. So I would agree. I think there are some communication challenges there, but I think we should just be careful when we have any candidate who is where English is not their first language. I anticipated that almost, 'cause, but for me, I think that energy level was important, and the maturity of her. Although it was, I did lose her once or twice. I guess for me, the completeness of her answers. And the theme that she kept talking about, which I was impressed by, was finding common ground and common goals. And I think that was well done of her. So for me, she was the only candidate who got down to the classroom level in her answers. And I appreciated that she said, we need highly skilled educators, because I think she was right on that one. So that would be my 2 cents. And I would agree with Member Pats otherwise.
Well, has anyone changed their mind after the second round of discussion? Your ranking, Member Pats, was Carver, Collins.
And then I had, I think, Sanchez and Bukowski tied. No, I had Bukowski above Sanchez. So.
Your ranking after was Collins.
Collins, Carver, Sanchez, Bukowski.
Mine was Collins, Sanchez, Carver, Bukowski. Could you tell us yours again, Member Marion?
Yes. Sanchez 1, Carver 2, Collins-Rodgers 3, and Bukowski 4.
So we can entertain thoughts on how we should proceed. We can sit here and stare at each other for a while longer. We can, which we did the last time we interviewed candidates. Actually, we did not decide the evening of the interview, but came back to a subsequent meeting and slept on it and thought about it.
Which I found incredibly helpful, just for the record, when we went through this last time, to have even the 24 hours just to kind of reflect was really helpful, at least for me in my process. So.
Okay, so that is an option if we have to decide by February 4th, so it would be probably another short special meeting. When's our, no, we're 27th, yeah, so we could put it on the agenda for next week. So thoughts about those two options?
I like that. Well, the postpone.
Speaking of-
I'm sorry. Yes, I would prefer the not postponing, but the waiting period as far as to make a decision.
Reflection period.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Member Pats?
It's clear we're not coming to a decision now. So,
Okay. Well, then, I think that concludes our business for this evening, and we will we'll go home and reflect further and put this on the board agenda for next week. I want to thank again all the candidates for making this a difficult decision and bringing different things that are causing us to want to reflect further on things. We are now adjourned.